Good afternoon, good afternoon. This is Point of View with Shirley, Cleester, Eula, and Merethah. It is a wonderful day, and I am solo today. Reedy got called into work, and of course, I miss her. I miss all of the ladies, and they will be back. I believe it. I believe they will be coming back pretty soon. It is such a blessing and a privilege to be here today just to say hello. And today I'm talking about loneliness, and I'm asking a question. Are you lonely? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it today. Are you lonely? So we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to ask you to share this webcast with others because the holiday season is upon us. It's very close now. And we know, and probably most of us from experience, that many times we can be around many, many people and still feel lonely. I've experienced that myself. Great family, great acquaintances, and great friends. But yet, there are some times in our lives that we just feel lonely. It seems like something is missing, and many times there is. And that could be a significant other, that could be a friend. Something is missing. So we want to talk about being lonely today. Let's talk about it today. And I'm asking again if you would share this webcast with all of your friends. And if you share them with your friends, that means you have thousands of friends, Facebook friends. I have thousands. And all those that you share it with that will share it with their thousands of people because we need to get the word out on the loneliness. During the holidays, especially, those can be the loneliest times. They could be the loneliest times. So I am going to go ahead and go into what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to pray. Dear God, as I sit before you to speak, I pray to you that my soul you will keep. And if I should die before I finish, I pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Oh, yes, amen. Any outstanding sins. So I'm going to go into it. I am in, I think, it's psychology today and very well mind. Are you feeling lonely? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to go to Psychology Today, and there were two articles, but I'm going to just deal with this one for right now. Psychology Today, and this article is by Gretchen Rubin, and she's talking about loneliness, and there are seven types, according to Gretchen, in her research, seven types of loneliness and why it matters. We can't just tell people, oh, get over it, or just shrug it off, or just suck it up. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You could be around thousands of people and still have that feeling of loneliness. And these feelings can get worse. They can lead to many, many emotional and mental disorders, I'm telling you. So let's deal with loneliness today. Seven types of loneliness and why it matters. One key, maybe the key to happiness, is strong connections to other people. And this was published on the 27th of February in the year 2017, and it's still good for today. So, point one, for a happy life, people need intimate bonds to be able to confide in others, feel like they belong, and give and get support. Second point, while desired solitude feels peaceful, creative, and restorative, loneliness feels draining, distracting, and upsetting. Next point, it's possible to feel lonely when one has friends. they can't quite trust, or a romantic partner they don't feel connected to. It can be because you can have that significant other and you can still feel lonely because the relationship on their end is not good at all. Not good at all. And then you could be having some thoughts you might not be satisfied because of the relationship, and therefore you can be lonely because of that. So, one major challenge within happiness is loneliness. The more I've learned about happiness, the more I've come to believe that loneliness is a common and important obstacle to consider. To be happy, we need intimate bonds. We need to be able to confide. We need to feel like we belong. We need to be able to get and give support. In fact, strong relationships are key, perhaps the key to a happy life. And it's depending on their relationship. It's depending on their relationship. So, of course, being alone and being lonely are not the same. Being alone and being lonely are not the same. Loneliness feels draining, it feels distracting and upsetting. Desired solitude feels peaceful, creative, and restorative. Okay? It seems to me, as the writer is saying, it seems to her that there are several types of loneliness. Of course, not everyone experiences loneliness in the situations described. For instance, not everyone wants a romantic partner, okay? But for some people, the lack of certain kinds of relationships brings loneliness. For real. Once we've pinpointed the particular kind of loneliness we're experiencing, it may be easier to spot ways to address it. We have to know what kind of loneliness it is. Why are you feeling this way? Well, what's going on? I don't know. That's what we say many times. I don't know. I just feel like this and I just feel lonely. It just hurts. It hurts, but I don't know why. So here are some types, she says, that she's identified and she wants to know what she's overlooked. 7 types of loneliness. Number one, new situation loneliness. You've moved to a new city where you don't know anyone, or you've started a new job, or you've started at a school full or unfamiliar school full of unfamiliar faces. You're lonely. Have you experienced that before? Number two, I'm different loneliness. I'm different loneliness. You're in a place that's not unfamiliar, but you feel different from other people in an important way that makes you feel isolated. Have you ever felt like that? Maybe your faith is really important to you and the people around you don't share that, or vice versa. Maybe everyone loves doing outdoor activities, but you don't, or vice versa. It feels hard to connect with others about the things you find important. These are things. This is it. Or maybe you're just hit with the loneliness that hits all of us sometimes. The loneliness that's part of the human condition. And this number two is I'm different loneliness. So you can just feel so many ways. And I like this. I like this. Number three, no sweetheart loneliness. Here we go. Even if you have lots of family and friends, you feel lonely because you don't have the intimate attachment of a romantic partner. Felt that before? Yes, I have. Or maybe you have a partner, but you don't feel a deep connection to that person. Felt that before? Yes, I have. Number four, no animal loneliness. And you know, I have one around here. He decides sometimes when he wants to be on the webcast, and I hope he's going to be quiet today. He's settled down for right now, so let's hope he will be quiet. Okay. Many people have a deep need to connect with animals. If this describes you, you're sustained by these relationships in a way that human relationships don't replace. While I love my dog Barnaby, that's her dog's name at that time, I don't feel this myself. She said, but many people feel like something uh, important is missing if they don't have a dog or a cat, or less conveniently, a horse in their lives. Oh, yes. So we can relate to that, all of us animal lovers. Number 5, no time for me loneliness. Did you ever think about that? No time for me loneliness. And I've heard people say, and one person in particular, and I've told you before, that every time almost we talk, oh, I'm just so busy, I'm just so busy. And that just gets me because I feel like we are in control of our time and we can fix our schedules. We should be able to fix our schedules like we want to, especially if we are retired from a public job and we kind of have our own schedule. But some people like to say, I'm just so busy. And then say, I'm so tired. I've been just so busy. Okay, that's theirs. And I have mine. So if they want to say that, that's up to them. Okay? No time for me loneliness. That's why I'm talking about this. It's, oh, I just didn't have time to do this, and I just didn't have time to do that. And we've all been to a point in our lives right there, but we don't let it consume us. Hopefully, okay? Sometimes you're surrounded by people who seem friendly enough, but they don't want to make the jump from friendly to friends. Maybe they're too busy with their own lives or they have lots of friends already. So while you'd like a deeper connection, they don't seem interested. Or maybe your existing friends have entered a new phase that means they no longer have time for the things you all used to do. Everyone has started working very long hours or has started a family. So your social scene has changed. So there are many examples of that. Number six, number six, untrustworthy friends, loneliness. Untrustworthy friends, loneliness. Sometimes you get in a situation where you begin to doubt whether your friends are truly well intentioned, whether they're kind and helpful. Sometimes you get in those situations. Boy, that lighting is good right there. I like that. Wow. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, untrustworthy friends, loneliness. Loneliness. Sometimes you get in a situation where you begin to doubt whether your friends are truly well intentioned, whether they're kind, and whether they're helpful. Your friends with or you're friends with people but don't quite trust them. Have you ever been in that situation? Okay, an important element of friendship is the ability to confide and trust. So that's missing. So if it's missing, you may feel lonely, even if you have fun with your friends. And then that fun goes to just a certain point, okay? Number 7, quiet presence loneliness. Quiet presence loneliness. Sometimes you may feel lonely because you miss having someone else's quiet presence. Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. You may have an active social circle at work or have plenty of friends and family, but you miss having someone to hang out with at home, whether that would mean living with a roommate, a family member, or a sweetheart. Just someone who's fixing a cup of coffee in the next room or reading on the sofa. And I can relate to that. Yes, I can. It's so important. And that's why I want to say to everyone who has a compassion and companion, who has compassion for their companion. I have to use those words together since I put it out there. Or even if someone is there with you, cherish them. Cherish them. Make the best of every microsecond with them. Because we don't know when a great change is coming, and one of us might not be there anymore forever. All right? Cherish. what you have. And if your situation is not so good, work on it. Work on it. If you can possibly, if you believe that there is hope in the situation, work on it. Get some counseling. Most of all, pray to God. Ask God for direction. If you have to get some counseling, do that. Or if you have to get some yonder, you do that too. Okay? Whatever is the safest and the best for your well being and the other person's too. So it's important to realize why we feel lonely because only then can we see how we might address it. If you're in no time for me lonely, for instance, maybe a solution would be to work with people on a project where you'd be doing an endeavor together or something you've all made time for. And she goes on to say, my mother once noted, and I think it's very true, she says. It's easier to make friends when you're working on a project together. And it is if you're working on it together and you have something in common. I believe that. So this is Psychology Today. My goodness, this is really, really, really good. And there's some more things about loneliness here. Let me go on down here. And she says, she goes on, she said, loneliness is a major factor in unhappiness. So it's an important area to tackle if you're working on making yourself happier. One of the keys, maybe the key to happiness is strong connections to other people. The lack of these bonds, even temporarily, is a major happiness stumbling block. Have you found any good ways to understand and deal with loneliness? And so she recommends two books, Loneliness, Human Nature, and the Need for Social Connection by John Cassio, Cassio, Cassiopo, and then William Patrick. And then the other book is Lonely by Emily White. Okay, so now we'll go to our second. So that was 7 types of loneliness. All right, 7 types of loneliness. So hopefully we'll understand. Now I'm going to very well mind, and I hope this doesn't, because I've used this before, I hope it doesn't try to lock me out. There are 10 things to do when you feel alone. And I believe this is right on time because we're getting ready to go into the holidays, and the holidays can be very difficult if you're lonely. So we need to identify the types of loneliness and deal with the situation. When we can identify it, then we know what to work on. All right? So, 10 things to do when you feel lonely or when you feel alone. When you're feeling alone, these ideas can help. And this is by Amy Morin. Amy Morin, Morin, Morin. And this was released just this year on the 21st of March, 2023. So we're going on. Feeling alone is normal. It's a human experience. You can feel lonely when you're by yourself or even when you're in a room full of people. Didn't I just say that? When you're by yourself and even when you're in a room full of people. I'm trying to do this so I can see my comments here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me. When you don't feel connected with anyone or you feel like no one understands you, you might feel as though you are completely alone, even if you're around friends and family. You might also wonder, why am I alone? Causes of loneliness include life changes that lead to social isolation, like moving to a new place, grieving a death, or the end of a relationship. In some cases, loneliness is linked with mental health conditions like depression. People with low self esteem may also tend to feel lonely if they struggle to make social connections. And talking about this causes of loneliness, I'm going to go to this page. Loneliness causes and health consequences. And this is still in very well mind. It's just another link. While common definitions of loneliness describe it as a state of solitude or being alone, loneliness is actually a state of mind. Yeah, this is what we need, okay? Loneliness causes people to feel empty, alone, and unwanted. And we know that for a fact. Loneliness causes that. People who are lonely often crave human contact, but their state of mind makes it more difficult to form connections with others. This is serious business, isn't it? So, are you feeling lonely? So, we're talking about it right now. And I'm asking those who might have just tuned in with me here to please share this webcast with all of your Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn friends. Please share it. Thank you so much because it's much needed, especially at this time of the year. It's needed all around, but especially at this time of the year. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Growing concerns around the dangers of loneliness have prompted a call to action by U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, who recently issued an 82-page advisory on the issue. An 82-page advisory on the issue. The advisory cites data from several studies, including research that found that nearly half, HALF, of adults in the U.S. experience feelings of loneliness daily. My goodness, this loneliness is something else. Murthy's report also cites a meta-analysis that found that the risk of premature death due to loneliness increased by 26% and 29% due to social isolation. Furthermore, the lack of social connection can increase the risk of anxiety, depression, stroke, heart disease, and dementia. And this article that I'm on now, but I'm going to go back to my other main article, okay? But this article discusses what we mean by the term lonely, as well as the various causes, the health consequences, the symptoms, and potential treatments for loneliness. And I might need to continue this, huh? I might need this. So I will go on with this and then I'll go back to the main one. Defining loneliness. Loneliness is a universal human emotion that is both complex and unique to each individual. And that, I think I just kind of went around that just a little bit in the beginning of this webcast. It's unique to everyone. No one has the exact same feeling or experience. They might be the same situation, but everybody's feelings, everybody's comprehension of it, if I should say that word, is different. The feelings are different. Yes, they are. They might be similar, but they are different. Loneliness is a universal human emotion that is both complex and unique to each individual. And I am in verywellmind.com. Loneliness causes, effects, and treatments. This is where I am now. Treatment, treatment resistant depression. Wow, what's next? My goodness. Treatment resistant depression. What's next? Striking out after multiple treatment attempts can take away all hope. My goodness. Striking out after multiple treatment attempts can take away all hope. But with new options available, there's a lot to be optimistic about. So, for example, a lonely child who struggles to make friends at school has different needs than a lonely adult whose spouse has recently died. Researchers suggest that loneliness is associated with social isolation, poor social skills, introversion, and depression. Loneliness, according to many experts, is not necessarily about being alone. Okay? Loneliness, according to many experts, is not necessarily about being alone. Instead, if you feel alone and isolated, then that is how loneliness plays into your state of mind. For example, a college freshman might feel lonely despite being surrounded by roommates and other peers. A soldier beginning their military career might feel lonely after being deployed to a foreign country despite being constantly surrounded by other troop members. My goodness. Loneliness versus solitude. This is getting deep, isn't it? And my goodness, that's where we want to go because this is serious business. This is serious. And we can help many people. We can help many people. Loneliness versus solitude. While research shows that loneliness and isolation are bad for both mental and physical health, being alone is not the same as being lonely. And we've heard that about 3 times here today, haven't we? So in fact, solitude actually has a number of important mental health benefits, including allowing people to better focus and recharge. All right? Loneliness. Here we go. Loneliness is marked by feelings of isolation despite wanting social connections. It is often perceived as an involuntary separation, rejection, or abandonment by other people. Solitude, on the other hand, is voluntary. Okay. People who enjoy spending time by themselves continue to maintain positive social relationships that they can return to when they crave connection. They still spend time with others, but these interactions are balanced with periods of time alone. How many of you can relate to that? Okay, now here's a recap. Loneliness is a state of mind linked to wanting human contact but feeling alone. People can be alone and not feel lonely, or they can have contact with people and still experience feelings of isolation. How about that? Causes of loneliness. We are getting into this. Thank you so much for being with me today. Contributing factors to loneliness include situational variables such as physical isolation, moving to a new location, and divorce. The death of someone significant in a person's life can also lead to feelings of loneliness. Additionally, it can be a symptom of psychological disorder. It can be a symptom of a psychological disorder. And what is a psychological disorder? We've gone over these before, but I just still want to just do this. What's a mental disorder? How are they diagnosed? So the first problem is that a mental health professional must first decide exactly how to define the disorder. So, how do you determine if there is something psychologically wrong or unhealthy about a person? How do you decide what's normal and what's abnormal? Okay. So, today, many mental health professionals agree that mental disorders are characterized by both personal distress and impairment in multiple areas of life. And so I'm going to go right on back to where I just left and continue in that. Okay, my goodness, it's so much here. and it's going to get into where I I'm in a category of, but I won't disclose that, okay? Like the lady said about age, she said age is just a number, but mine is unlisted. All right. So additionally, it can be a symptom of psychological disorder such as depression. Depression causes people to withdraw socially, which can lead to isolation. So research also suggests that loneliness can be a factor that contributes to symptoms of depression. Loneliness can also be attributed to internal factors such as low self-esteem. We talked about self-esteem, low self-esteem. People who lack confidence in themselves often believe that they are unworthy of the attention or regard of other people, which can lead to isolation and chronic loneliness. My goodness, this is some serious business. Chronic loneliness. If you'll allow me, I'm going there. What is chronic loneliness? Oh my goodness. There's a difference between being alone and chronically lonely. When you're alone, it can be an active choice to be in solitude. You enjoy deep, fulfilling connections with others while having intentional time away on your own. Chronic loneliness is a profound aloneness from being involuntarily isolated from a meaningful relationships for a long period of time. You may be around others but still feel like you are on an island of your own, or you are an island of your own. What does it mean to be chronically lonely? Developing a connection with others is an enduring desire that begins in infancy with our earliest caregivers. Before we know anything about the world, there's already an innate yearning to attach to emotionally responsive individuals who can meet our fundamental need for closeness. There's a biological incentive to get along with others and thrive. Research shows that people who developed a healthy, secure attachment style with others reported having higher levels of happiness and well being. With loneliness, you may harbor strong feelings of socialization, but go without satisfying human intimacy for days, weeks, months, or years. Being alone without community can cause suffering, it can cause sadness, it can cause silence, and definitely it can cause pain. So when you feel like you do not have anyone you can really confide in, it can leave you vulnerable to loneliness, negatively shift the way you approach the world, and have detrimental health outcomes. My goodness. Chronic loneliness isn't considered a specific mental health condition, but a psychological natural phenomenon and a public health epidemic. My goodness, an epidemic, a public health epidemic. Loneliness can happen to people of all ages, all gender, all sexualities, all races, and socioeconomic background at various points in life with serious mental and physical health consequences. Oh my goodness. So here are the signs of chronic loneliness. Then we'll switch back, okay? The biggest indicator of chronic loneliness is feeling like you don't have any significant relationships to share your problems and experiences with. You may want to connect with a partner, with a friend, or family member and feel like you have no one. If you are dealing with chronic loneliness, here are some of the other subtle symptoms you may experience. lack of affection and warmth, low mood and energy, cognitive decline, sleep problems, weight problems such as excess weight gain, lack of physical activity, poor physical health, pain in joints and body, impulse control problems such as shopping, marathoning TV shows or movies, unhealthy diet, substance abuse, uh, cyclinal thoughts, negative thinking and anxiousness, depressive symptoms such as unhappiness and pessimism, and feelings of of worthiness or worthlessness. And I'm going to do this. Would you give me just a few seconds and I will be right back. That was Amazon, and I need to get this. I've been blessed throughout the years not to have anyone to come and take what I've ordered, but I don't take chances. So I thank God for that. I tell you, sometimes I accidentally left stuff out on the porch for hours, and God has been good enough and grace, full of grace and mercy, that He didn't let anybody come and get it. And so I am so thankful for that. So now, getting back to our topic, I am just so thankful that you're here with me today. It is such a privilege and a blessing, and I don't take any of this for granted that you're here with me. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Causes of chronic loneliness, and we talked about the situational. Uh, they're outlined as follow: the situational loneliness, and we have the developmental loneliness, and we have the internal loneliness. Wow. So here are, and I was talking about the symptoms of what to look for, some of the things to look for. And I was there at weight problems such as excess weight gain. There's a lack of physical activity. There's poor physical health, pain in joints and body, impulse control, problems such as shopping, marathoning, TV shows and movies, unhealthy diet, substance abuse, clinical thoughts, or cynical thoughts. Okay. Syn, syn, cyclino. Wait a minute, let me get this right, okay? Cyclical thoughts. Okay? All right. Then there's negative thinking and anxiousness. There's depressive symptoms such as unhappiness and pessimism. And then there's feelings of worthlessness and abandonment. My goodness. What are the causes of chronic loneliness? Chronic loneliness can happen for several reasons. And these are research outlines that I'm going to bring to you now. Research outlines that situational loneliness, I said that, occurs when you experience an event in the environment, such as a personal conflict, significant move, career change, accident, disaster, or pandemic. I think all of us have experienced those. So that's called situational loneliness. Developmental loneliness happens when you experience a physical or psychological event, such as inconsistent home lifestyles, poverty, developmental problems, painful losses of someone important, or have mental, physical, or intellectual disability. My goodness, that's developmental loneliness. Internal loneliness. We're talking about chronic loneliness. This is serious. Internal loneliness manifests when you experience an internal event such as anxiety, depression, low self esteem, guilt, or faulty coping strategies. And there's a study in 2022 that found one third of adults 45 and older feel lonely, and one quarter of adults aged 65 and older feel socially isolated from others. Now, older immigrants are more at risk for chronic loneliness since moving. countries can augment cultural differences, such as a lack of community, fragmented social networks, and language barriers to connect with others. So, newer research has also recognized high rates of loneliness. Now, remember, just in one of the other articles, it said half of the people in America are lonely. So, newer research has also recognized high rates of loneliness among older LGBTQ plus people. So, this population can be high risk because they're already a stigmatized group who may not be connected to friends and family because they were rejected because of their sexuality. As a result, chronically lonely LGBTQ individuals find it difficult to pursue meaningful companionship because of anxiety, because of depression, because of health issues, and uncertainty engaging with others within the community. This is covering all of us, isn't it? Talking about chronic loneliness. While there's been a perception that older populations are more vulnerable since the experience can surge with age, the experience doesn't discriminate. You hear that? It doesn't discriminate. All right? So you can't just say, well, she's an old lady, so she's going to feel like that. It doesn't discriminate. All ages, anywhere, anytime, anywhere, anytime, for any reason. Okay? While there's been a perception that older populations are more vulnerable since the experience can surge with age, the experience doesn't discriminate. A 2014 study reported 80% of adolescents and young children below the age of 18, 1-8, reported feeling loneliness at one point in their life as well. So researchers suggest that loneliness could be especially poignant for adolescents since they have not yet developed the skills to deal with isolation. The impacts of loneliness can be tough to feel when being seen, understood, accepted, and loved is essential to their growth. My goodness, I want to do that again. The impacts of loneliness can be tough to feel when being seen, understood, accepted, and loved is essential to their growth. So, the impacts of loneliness, being chronically lonely, is a distressing experience that can bring intense feelings of emptiness, of pain, and emotional heaviness. Research from the Genomics Core Laboratory at UCLA found loneliness modifies and weakens cells in the immune system. You hear that? This is research, all right? Scientific research at UCLA. They found that loneliness modifies and weakens cells in the immune system, promoting inflammation and escalating the risk of chronic diseases. My goodness. The CDC also found loneliness can put you at risk for several health conditions such as, my goodness, we're talking about this today, are we? Are we not? Thank you for being with me. I was trying to get that to where I could see my comments, but I don't know. I'm not gonna. Thank you for being with me. Thank you so much. Okay, here here they are. Here they are. These are impacts of loneliness, and then this is what the CDC found, that loneliness can put you at risk for several health conditions such as dementia, stress, Alzheimer's disease, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, depression, anxiety, obesity, suicide, substance use disorder, personality disorders, premature death. Other research echoes similar findings about chronic loneliness and note that sufferers of chronic loneliness also have a higher chance of needing psychotropic medications. Whew. Now, I'm going to get to this. Overcoming loneliness. We took the long way, but we had to go there to get to here, okay? All right. Overcoming loneliness. We had to go through to get to. All right. Overcoming loneliness. We live longer and we are more connected than ever, yet the current level of loneliness is unprecedented. It may feel insurmountable to get out of chronic loneliness, but it's far from impossible. Okay? It's far from impossible. It's possible to overcome loneliness. This is it. We're talking about it's possible. It is possible to overcome loneliness. It's important to remember loneliness is a totally normal and universal experience that happens to everyone. Everyone. All right? The solution for chronic loneliness is connecting with others. However, that's easier said than done. It takes courage to open yourself to others and risk rejection when you already feel so vulnerable. There are easy, small, and effective steps you can take to increase care and affection in your life. So we're going into these steps. Oh my goodness. Give yourself grace. You hear that? Give yourself grace. It's critical to understand that chronic loneliness can create negative beliefs about yourself and your worth as an individual, preventing you from seeking connection. Now, this may create a self fulfilling prophecy and further isolate you from others. Try focusing on what you like about yourself and looking for good things in your interaction. Okay? It's okay if it takes time too. Okay? It's okay if it takes you time. But what you have to do is give yourself grace. And remember, we talk about yourself, working on yourself first. And then you can spread the love, care, and all that to the other people, okay? But if you don't have it yourself, how can you give it out? If I don't have it, I can't give it to you. I cannot share it. It's impossible. Next, build in self care. Build in self care. To move out of loneliness, it's important to believe you are worthy of connection. This can look like taking care of yourself with proper sleep, okay, nutrition, and enjoying the outdoors. I like all of those. So, joining a gym or community group can help with social isolation and your physical health while promoting social connectedness, okay? Connectedness. Now, let me do that again. Joining a gym or community group can help with social isolation and your physical health while promoting social connectedness. Next, open up to loved ones. Reach out to people in your life who can hold space with you. Okay? Reach out to people in your life that can hold space with you. All right? Don't worry about being put together, happy, or perfect in order to see someone. Okay? Don't worry about being put together, being happy, or perfect in order to see someone. Simply being yourself in any emotional state is enough for people to love and appreciate. Changing your approach can open your life up to heart opening moments filled with joy and connection. Talking about how to overcome loneliness, chronic loneliness is that. Find little moments. When you're out at the store, strike up a conversation with the cashier. Build a connection with someone whenever you pick up your groceries. Or try out a new class or activity and engage with a friendly face. Over time, these small actions compound, which boost your mood and sense of being seen. Connection doesn't always have to be big, okay? It can be incremental and with a variety of people to foster a sense of community. All right, we're getting there, aren't we? Wow, this time is moving too. Volunteer and care give. Being a part of your neighborhood and mutual aid efforts can connect you with others who uphold your values and create a link you already know you have in common. It'll give you a sense of broader perspective, identity, and accomplishment, knowing you are doing good. And it really does. It really does. Now, next, get a pet. Animal therapy can positively help with loneliness. Pets can provide you with human touch, consistency, affection, and help with social isolation since you'll need to get out of the house to take care of them. Next, very important, if you must, you should. Okay, this one. Seek a therapist. Talking to a therapist can help improve the perception of your loneliness and provide you with tools, with the techniques, with accountability, and support as you connect with others. And we're closing this one. This is by Julie Gwynn. Okay, craving connection is a powerful motivator to feel close to others. We are biologically wired to be around people where we can share our stories, where we can share our journeys and perspectives. So being connected can give you a greater purpose, a deeper sense of self, and help you build your circle of loved ones. My goodness, this is neat. And they have therapists on BetterHelp. They have on Talkspace and online therapy. Plus, you can contact me. I am certified, okay? All right, as a counselor in, I think, 5 different areas. So we're going back to where we came from. This is super, I'm telling you. This is really, really good. So I want to get back to that. We were talking about what health risks associated with loneliness. We talked about that and what research suggests about loneliness. We'll go into there. And there's a national hotline and health risks associated with loneliness. I didn't go through that in here, and I didn't go through these parts, but here causes of loneliness, and we've said some of these, so I might be repeating some, but I'm back and I'm still in very well mind, okay? .com. Causes of loneliness, contributing factors to loneliness include situational variables, and we've said that physical isolation, moving to a new location, and all of that. Talked about the self-esteem. We talked about the introverts. Personality factors may also play a role. Introverts, for example, might be less likely to cultivate and seek social connections, which can contribute to feelings of isolation and loneliness. And let me tell you what an introvert is, just in case you might not know. 8 signs you're an introvert. And this is by Kendra Cherry. Understanding introversion versus extroversion. And I know some people who are, oh God, ambivert. Let me see, verted. I think that's what it is. They're a little bit of both. Introversion is a personality trait characterized by a focus on internal feelings rather than on external sources of stimulation. Introverts and extroverts are often viewed in terms of two extreme opposites. But the truth is that most people lie somewhere in the middle. While introverts make up an estimated 25% to 40% of the population, there are still many misconceptions about this personality type. It is also important to note that being an introvert does not mean that you are socially anxious or shy. So if you're not sure whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, taking an introvert versus extrovert test may help you get a better idea of which category suits your personality. And when I first started doing point of view, I think it was probably, I don't know whether it's 2011. It might, I don't know. It's been a while. I covered this and I found out which one I am. And then I said, so that's why I'm like I am. And since then, I've never wondered about it anymore. What is an introvert? And see, this research is really good, really good. What is an introvert? Introversion is one of the major personality traits identified in many theories of personality. The word introvert is used to describe someone who tends to turn inward, meaning they focus more on internal thoughts, feelings, and moods rather than seeking out external stimulation. So you might hear people use the words withdrawn or introspective as synonyms for introvert. Introversion is generally viewed as existing as part of a continuum along with extroversion. Introversion indicates one end of the scale, while extroversion represents the other end. The terms introversion and extroversion, also often spelled extraversion with an A, were popularized through the work of Carl Jung and later became central parts of other prominent theories, including the Big Five theory of personality. 3 minutes. The introversion extroversion dimension is also one of the four areas identified by Myers Briggs type indicator. That's the MBTI. That's the for the acronym. So, according to many theories of personality, everyone has some degree of both introversion and extroversion. However, people often tend to lean one way or the other. Introverts tend to be more quiet, reserved, and introspective. Extroverts gain energy from social interaction, while introverts expend energy in social situations after attending a party or spending time in a large group of people. Introverts often feel a need to recharge by spending time alone. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? All right, so we have 2 minutes to finish up here. This has, my goodness, this has really been good, hasn't it? So, we're talking about loneliness and how to uh, get over loneliness. We found out that, yeah, it is possible to get over the lonely feelings. And we have to work on it. Yes, we do. We have to work on it. So, if you are having uh, suicidal thoughts, and they always have to put this in here because that loneliness, especially chronic loneliness, that can lead you to places that you really don't need to be in. So if you're having suicidal thoughts, contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. All you have to do is dial 988 for support and assistance from a trained counselor. And then for more mental health resources, you can call the National Helpline Database. So here's some health risks, and I don't think I read this, or did I? I'm just going to go through it again because I have 1 minute. Health risks associated with loneliness. Loneliness has a wide range of negative effects on both physical and mental health, including alcohol and drug misuse, altered brain function, my goodness, altered brain function, Alzheimer's disease progression, antisocial behavior, cardiovascular disease, and stroke, decreased memory and learning, depression and suicide, increased stress levels, poor decision making. So, close friends help combat loneliness. So, we need this help. So, you can dial 988 suicidal thoughts. Please do that because there are people that have those. Sometimes suicide might be just like that, and sometimes it could be prolonged depending on the way that they do it, that people do it. So we have to be concerned about everybody, pray for everybody, pray and remember, give grace to yourself first. Fix you, and then you can spread it out to everybody else. I love you so much, and I thank you for being with me. It's been a pleasure being here today with you, and God willing, this is Thursday, isn't it? God willing, I will be on here Saturday at 7:39 p.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. And I want to say that we are yet praying for Carly Hill and her family. They're going to funeralize her sister on Saturday in Texarkana, Texas. So please be praying for them and all of those who are having things going on. We're praying for you too. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with me.